Hey, what's going on out there? I hope you're doing well. I'm Sean Divine. This is my top 10 next level instrument plugins for producers.
All right, so that was number 1 on my list of next level instrument plugins for producers, and that is VOCALSYNTH from IZOTOPE. Very powerful vocoder vocal instrument. You know, there's a lot of vocoders out here that I've just found are not very user friendly, and it's also just difficult to get something that works well in the context of an actual song or production. This one has a musicality to it, as well as just a great user interface and a lot of cool modules that when we blend them in, as you could hear earlier, you can get a really thick sound that cuts through the mix. Not to mention, you've got a completely modular setup in terms of the effects and some great effects here. Number 2 on my list of next level instrument plugins for producers is no other than OMNISPHERE 2.5. Now, this was on my previous list. However, OMNISPHERE has undergone quite a few changes since then, including a recent hardware integration. If you own any of these synths, we can use those as advanced control surfaces to control everything in OMNISPHERE and in a very intuitive and inspiring way. So in my case, I have the Behringer DeepMind 12D and also the Access Virus Indigo. So I can use either of those as a very, very in-depth control surface for OMNISPHERE, and it automatically maps a lot of cool things in there. Not to mention, they gave us a completely new hardware library that includes a ton of sounds that are inspired by and many deep sampled from these actual hardware synths. So if you want to dive into some cool retro stuff and also some sounds that have been brought into, you know, a modern aesthetic with these synths. There is a massive, I mean, I can't even scroll fast enough to go through all of the sample content. And we're talking about deep, very unique sample sources. If you look right here, this is an electric toothbrush, you know, things like that, not to mention a fantastic effects section, all kinds of different stuff from reverbs, amplifiers, delays, and then we even have a really cool arpeggiator that has been updated in OMNISPHERE 2.5. I've had this synth for about 5 or 6 years and really feel like I have just scratched the surface in terms of what is possible. Coming in at number 3 on my list is NEXUS 3, another one that was on my previous list. However, this is a big time update, mainly the browser and just the user interface, so much easier to get around. You know, I've got something like 14,000 sounds for NEXUS, and so finding them was a little bit difficult. Now, you've also got a cool feature where when you click on a sound, you'll get a nice little preview. So let's just say that we were to dive into, you know, one of these banks. So we can get a nice audio preview of whatever sound it is before we start loading it up. NEXUS has just a lot of cutting edge modern sounds that are going to fit really well in some of the more current genres. So let's just say we wanted to put a delay on that. Then I could go in here, click on the delay, turn up the mix a little bit. All right, so nice effects in here too. Let's say we wanted to just switch that to maybe an arena. Nice. Let's go into the arpeggiator real quick and let's just load up maybe a basic patch and we'll try and edit it a little bit. Tons of possibilities there with the effects to really make these sounds your own. Tons of instant inspiration in Nexus 3, and again with the new arpeggiator, the new user interface, which is scalable by the way, so you can make this nice and large if you need to. And also like the fact that they have their own little cloud service that kind of keeps everything up to date and makes sure that all of the sample content is here, and that can be installed on your desktop as well as your laptop, thank goodness, so that you can have that and you do not need an e-licenser anymore. We're that much closer to getting rid of these dang license dongles. Coming in at number 4 on my list of top 10 next level instrument plugins is Arcade by Output, and this is an incredible source of inspiration, huge pool of different melodic ideas and phrases and loops, but not loops in the traditional sense. These are heavily customizable to your needs, a lot of effects at your fingertips to really make these things your own, and the way that you play them back is very expressive. So you've got these different themed, kind of almost like albums of sounds and melodic ideas. This one's called Hooked, and what these are different vocal phrases, and we can arrange them, you know, however we want. So let's just play this back. You can switch the key depending on what your song is in. So if we unlock that, let's go to maybe A minor. And then if we just lock that, that means that no matter what we do in terms of browsing these different sounds, it's going to keep us in A minor when we load this stuff up. Also, we have these modifier keys on the black notes. So we've got things that will kind of chop up different things. We've got reverses, all kinds of little effects. So you can see really, really cool stuff in here, but it's not limited to just that. Again, we've got all kinds of different sounds. Let's just say that we wanted to look for maybe a drum loop of some sort. We'll go in here like a live drum break maybe. They've got a whole thing of drum breaks. So we can go in here and we can preview these. Let's load that. So we just click download, and they've made a lot of improvements in Arcade with the loading times, you know, downloading the content. So all the content is kind of in the cloud, and then once you download it, it will save that stuff locally so it's in your sessions. just love the fact that they really are keeping this thing updated almost daily. It seems like I'm seeing new themed kits and lines here. And so just endless inspiration, very, very creative stuff as well. Coming in at number 5 is EZKEYS from TOONTRACK. There's some great libraries here. I have the Dream Machine as well as the Studio Grand installed. Some very, very nice quality sounds here. But more importantly with EZKEYS is the fact that it's a tremendous compositional tool and creative tool. For those of you especially who are not as familiar with music theory, I use this to, draw up some quick chord progressions if you need to. So it's very easy just to go in here and create a chord. And let's just say that we're in C major right now, which is where we have the key set. It will give us the circle of fifths, which again, music theory. But if we click this, we'll have A minor. And all of the notes surrounding it, closest to it, that are going to work well in terms of a pop sort of songwriting context. So if we click this, let me turn it up just a little bit here. So you can just kind of listen and hear all those chords are going to work together. So let's just say that we wanted to create a progression. I'll just do the A minor here. I'm going to speed up our tempo a little bit, and we'll just start laying out some notes here. We've got a handy little sequencer section, so we can just go and we'll manipulate these in a second. But let's just say that was the A. It's a D minor, C, G. So let's just say that's our basic progression. So we'll slow it down now. And let's say that that is the basis of our chord progression that we want to start our song with. Very easy, just to select the notes, and all you have to do is just drag them out of EZKEYS directly into your sequencer. And then guess what? Boom, the whole progression is there. If you need it to inform the rest of your instrumentation or the melodies you're going to build it around, you can easily get that into MIDI. So very inspiring and inspirational composition tool in EZKEYS from TOONTRACK. Next up on the list of top 10 next level instrument plugins for producers is SUBLAB from Future Audio Workshop. This is the definitive sub-bass 808 style low-end plugin or instrument. And if you need a lot of different tools for that, all rolled into one, then SUBLAB is the plugin for you, especially in a lot of the genres we're doing these days. It's massive, massive in the lows. So we've got a sampler. We can use all kinds of different transients that come in the factory library. I've got some sounds in there as well. And then we can combine those with the synth section and the X sub, which adds harmonics, which is so crucial these days with a lot of the bass sounds we're using. We want them to translate on laptops, headphones, all that stuff. Coming in at number 7 on the list is SPLICE sounds. Now, some of you might say, well, that's not an instrument. Oh, but it is, my friend. Huge pool of different drum sounds, loops, melodic ideas, and really just kind of starter sort of concepts for you to kind of get going. And I look at SPLICE as like virtual collaboration tool because there's so many talented people who are sharing their sounds and their ideas, and then it's up to you to take those and make them into something completely new and make them your own. So let's just say, for instance, we wanted to look for, I don't know, like a guitar loop or something to kind of inspire us. Let's just see what we've got here, and I may have some already in my library. Let's see. That's already dope. Ooh. All I got to do is just click in here from the SPLICE app, and we'll just drag that in, and we've got the file here. And let's just say that I wanted to, kind of cut this up into something with some chops that I could use. I'll just convert it to a sampler instrument, Click OK, and we'll load in that. It goes into EXS24. And then let's just say I wanted to add like maybe a, I don't know, a reverb and a delay to it. Let's do that, and a delay, light delay. So you get the idea. We can do something entirely new from that loop. So Splice is just really, really cool. And there's all kinds of different, one shots. Let's just say you wanted to get a really cool kick. Decap, he's got a lot of cool kits on here. The quality of the content on Splice is just really second to none. If you're in a creative rut, something like Splice to, just hear some different perspectives from different creators out there will really get you sparked in the right direction. Coming in at number 8 is SERUM from XFER Records, another returning champ from my previous list, but this one has just stood the test of time. It's one of the best software synths out there. Fantastic sound. A lot of cool features, and the GUI is just, it's very easy to get into creating your own sounds, and there's a lot of cool presets as well. I have a couple of libraries out. This is 808, which are just some radical sounding bass sounds. Next up on the list is another plugin from XFER Records. It is Nerve, and this is by far my favorite drum software plugin. It not only loads one shots, so we can just load up, different sounds into the cells. Great for that purpose, but we can also load in loops, which I'm going to show you in just a second, in tandem with Splice. Is really, really cool. But in addition to just being a sampler, this also has a really cool and fast sequencer. So let me just show you how quick it is. I'll lay down a pattern with this. So we'll do something with the kick here. We already laid down a sequence there, and you can see we can control all kinds of cool things like pitch, as well as cutoff for the filter section, panning, different things. And it's really, really easy to program those in. Also really fast notes for hi-hats, so we can speed those up. So if you were just in the piano roll trying to do that kind of note division for a hi-hat, it would take you a lot of time, which is what I used to do until I got Nerve. I'm going to pull Splice back up here, and I want to show you how we can find a loop and then build around it. So let me go back and let's just search for one of the drum loops here that I might have. Okay, so let's just say we want to drag that in. I can just drag that directly from Splice into Nerve onto a pad here. So I'm going to switch this cell over to loop. So I can change the tempo in my DAW, and then Nerve will correspond with that loop appropriately. And it also slices these, so we can rearrange this loop any way we want with the different slices. So let's just move some of this around. And let's say I wanted to roll off some low end. And then I can come back over top of that with some of the drums that are in our cells. And we can even record them into Nerve. So let's do that. So right there, we've just taken a loop from Splice and then we've turned it into something entirely new, and we've actually complemented it with our own drum sounds all within this one plugin and very quickly. Last but certainly not least on the list, coming in at number 10 on my top 10 next level instrument plugins for producers, is somewhat of a hidden gem. It is the KORG ARP Odyssey, and this thing just sounds fantastic. It's got some cool sort of retro features I'm going to show you in a second, but I've created a lot of custom sounds for this. Let's go through and maybe take a listen to a few. Oh, I've even got one called Hidden Gems. How did that happen? So a cool thing about ARP Odyssey that's really fun is if we press this and sort of unfold the interface, we get this top section that has this cool kind of retro vintage style sequencer with sliders. This is really fun to program. So right now, if we're in the semitones, we can change our notes there, but also I'm controlling the cutoff, so we can go in and edit that. So you give your arpeggio just a totally different feel, and there's a lot of different parameters in here that we can actually control with this sequencer. I would love to see them release this just as kind of like a standalone plugin. I just like the workflow of being able to adjust those different parameters and modulate with this kind of slider style sequencer. So very, very cool. Let's go through a couple more sounds here. Great sounding filter on the ARP Odyssey, as you can hear. So that's just one key. I'm just using this sequencer up here to build that pattern. So you get the idea here. You can do some arpeggios with a lot of movement in them with these different modulation parameters here. And those are my top 10 next level instrument plugins for producers in 2020 and beyond. These are the ones that find themselves in my sessions continuously. I am constantly seeking them for inspiration. Love just the workflow and the GUI and all these. They're extremely well designed, high quality, and you're not going to have to do a whole lot of sifting through things to get a good sound out of them, which, in the creative process, we just want to find tools that are going to influence and inform and give us some new ideas, stretch us in new directions, give us some things that from our perspective, maybe we wouldn't have come up with. And so it's really cool to have these kinds of tools available at our fingertips. It is an amazing time to make music. There's so many great tools out here, which if you feel like there was something that you wanted to be on this list that didn't make it, please leave a comment below, share it with us so that we can check it out. If you got anything out of the video, please like, subscribe, and consider sharing. We'll talk to you soon.